Good evening, everyone. So I've just put my air guitar down. Joe has put a drum kit away and an air guitar. So welcome, welcome, one and all. So here we are, getting ready for 2021. We've got about a couple of weeks to go before Big Ben chimes. We go off into 2021. We enter also a brand new landscape of Brexit. So what does that mean as far as tonight's show is concerned? Well, tonight's show is continuing a theme that we picked up on last week, and it's about getting ready for 2021. And we're going to share a wonderful model with you called Grow. So if you're just catching up on replay, welcome. Thank you for your company. Hashtag replay, add your comments, add your thoughts, and we'll share that as we go along. Joe, have you had a good day today?
I've had a really good day. Do you know, Tuesdays are always a good day because I start the day with you and I end it with you. So we always have a catch up and a coffee, don't we? At
Absolutely.
half seven till 8 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. And then I know I'm going to see you later for the show. So it's been a really good day in between as well. Thank you. How about you? Have you been Brexiting today? What have you been up to?
I've been talking all things Brexit. I've been looking in terms of onboarding clients as well. So for me, 2020 hasn't stopped, hasn't come to a standstill. Thinking about 2021, thinking about what we're going to be talking about tonight, thinking about welcoming out a new group next year, which sounds weird, doesn't it, saying next year, but it's not that long away. So yeah, usual thing, keeping on top of things, looking forward, and usual sort of cycle of life.
Yeah, and as you say, it's the second show in a two-part series. So last week, you remember, everybody, that we looked back and thought about the year and did a review, and we talked about how and why it's important to do that and gave you some tips. And we had the great Sarah Salter come in and share some thoughts from a leadership perspective on how to do that review, which was really, really interesting. I got loads of tips from Sarah. And this time we're about looking forward. So we're thinking about what are those big ambitious goals that you've got for 2021. Maybe there were some big ambitious goals that you had for 2020 that with everything going on, you've just put on the back burner. So maybe it's time to get them out again, refresh them and really go for it. And we're here to help with that, aren't we?
Absolutely. I think you're right in terms of that, putting things on the back burner. I remember from last week when we were talking about this, it's about saying, you can learn as much about the things that didn't go well as you can about the big successes. And so if you've got to go through that, understanding what's happened in your business over the last 12 months, you've got to take some lessons out there. You've got to put it down to some form of order, grapple it about, but then you can move forward once you actually know what you've got in front of you and what's behind you as well.
Yeah, and it's no good just waiting to see what happens with Brexit, waiting to see what happens with waiting to see how everything plays out, because there'll always be something. And it's really about having those big ambitious goals and doing small steps, taking movement in the direction towards achieving them, rather than sitting back and waiting for everything to be calm and normal again, because it just won't be. So we need to keep going. Yeah, we need to keep going.
It's strange you should mention that as well, Joe, because in terms of Brexit, I know everyone's been distracted by Corona, pandemics, and all the rest of it. A lot of stuff we already know about Brexit. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know. So a lot of stuff we do know. And you're right. If you don't do that, I know it sounds quite harsh, somebody else will. And we are all in some degree of competitive game here. So we need to make sure your businesses out there are sort of geared and ready for embracing 2021.
Yeah, and I think that's a combination, isn't it, of that resilience that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. So if you're watching and you've not seen the resilience episode, then do check that out. But really building up some cash reserves, but also spending money wisely. And when we spend money in business, as we all know, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get a return, even if we spent it before and got a return. Every time it's different. So when we're spending and we're trying things out and we're innovating, it's really thinking about, well, what can I afford to invest in research and development and hopefully get a return, and really sort of thinking that through. So still doing those things, but also being, quite mindful and making good decisions about where the money goes.
In terms of, I suppose, putting that, because I think it's tonight's show I'm really looking forward to, because it actually picks up on a lot of things that we talked about on previous broadcasts, a lot of things that we've done in the Business Growth Club as well. And we think we both love this model of the Grow, which is obviously fits nicely with the Business Growth Club as well. But so it's a wonderful mnemonic to guide us.
It is, and we'll talk through that. So we've got a few things that you can be doing above and beyond the let's do a vision board, right? So there's nothing wrong with vision boards. I've actually got one. I like cutting and sticking and colouring in and all of that. I really do like it. But there are other things to be doing above and beyond the do your vision board for 2021. Still do your vision board, but maybe do some things that inform that if you're a vision board sort of person. So we're going to be talking about that. And we would really love to know as well, what are your big ambitious goals for 2021? What were they for 2020? Did you achieve them? Or have you put them on the back burner and you're ready to rock and roll with them again next year?
Haven't achieved them, it's a good exercise. Figure out why it didn't happen. And it may not necessarily be because of what's happened over the last few months. There could be other issues that have gone on. Maybe you didn't have enough resources. Maybe you didn't have enough skills to actually deploy that, to actually exploit it. Maybe you didn't have the relationships and networks that you thought you would do. Maybe your business wasn't as far forward. And it's always, for me, it's always that interrogation about why did it not happen? And you can really take some really good, valuable lessons out of that. So do an audit and actually figure out what went well, why it didn't happen, and you can put that to good use for coming into 2021.
Yeah, so 2021, we've got some time now. I love this time. I mean, I've got quite a big project on, which I'll be working on over Christmas and New Year. So I'll be having a bit of time off, but mainly I'll be working through the holidays on this big project. And I actually like this time of year because you can get a lot done. And you can get a lot done in a way that's also quite relaxing. It's not as full on with all the meetings and appointments and things, deadlines and things like that. So you can still make progress and have some time, but do it in quite, I think it's quite a nurturing thing to spend the time doing developmental projects and moving things forward. So it's a good time to be doing it. And I know everybody gets really, busy towards Christmas and there's lots going on. But I think there's less social stuff going on. We're not
definitely for now, yeah.
Yeah, we're not running around from party to party or doing all sorts of things. So have some fun, but maybe use some of that downtime to get ready and take a bit of the pressure off yourself when next year starts.
It's weird, isn't it? It's like a roller coaster,
Yeah.
because you've got less time being taken on certain things, which frees up a bit more time to. So really, there aren't really any excuses, are there?
No, I don't think so. No, it's about doing it. Also invest in taking some time off if you possibly can. It depends what business you're in. You might be in a business where Christmas is just full on. I've got a friend, Andy, who has got a business which is all about gifts, personalized gifts, e-commerce. Okay. He runs an e-commerce business as well. And he's like an elf at Christmas, really, just working incredibly hard to perfect personalized gifts if you want to check him out. But so you might be a seasonal business, run off your feet, and now may not be the time, but we'll still be here in January when things have calmed down to help you get going again. So should we start, Mahmood, with some things that people can do? So the first thing, which sounds a bit silly, but it's really good activity, and everyone who's done it, certainly in the Business Growth Club, has said how meaningful it's been and how enlightening, is to map out your perfect average day. So not your average day as it is now, but what your average day would look like in sort of your mind in a perfect world. So this is about you being at your best. It's about doing the things that you love to do. It's about you taking the business forward and really spending your time very wisely. So what would that day look like? And map it out, maybe in half-hourly chunks.
What would your perfect day look like, Jack?
Well, oh gosh, now that's
just turn that on. Yeah.
Yes. So, well, because I was trying to think, because I've got a couple of different perfect days, and it depends. So, my perfect day is getting up really early and doing something like walking the dog, moving, doing some yoga or something like that, and then having some quiet time, because I'm quite an early riser. So I could be up 4:30, 5:30, sometimes 3:15. I get up, and I like to have that time to think, create, do any writing or strategy work that I need to be doing, and then actually start to get some human interaction. And that's been a lot of it online throughout the day, and keeping busy, but really working. My perfect day is around working with people who want to do great things and who are open-minded and who want to grow themselves and their business, spending the day like that. And then finishing at a reasonable time, relaxing with family, reading, and then doing it all over again the following day. My other perfect day is from time to time, before COVID, it involved an element of being out there, speaking, traveling to places, meeting different people in different countries. I like to do some of that, and I like to do some of the working from home and doing things virtually as well. So that would be my perfect mix.
Nice blend there.
What about you?
Interesting. My perfect day. I'm not as early a riser as you, but I normally like to get up around. Well, I say like to get up. I normally get up about 5:30. I would say the thing is to use that time wisely. So over the last few years, I've taken this eating the frog to heart here. Get all the chargeable work done, get all the bits and bobs that have got to be done that have been on the in tray, get those out of the way. Relax into the morning bit, staff come in. My office hasn't really been closed at all for this year. And then I suppose as the day goes on, I normally now have my meetings mostly in the afternoon. Take a bit of a respite. I'll be crazy, have a little bit of lunch for about 10, 15 minutes, and then get back in the evening, do an evening shift, go home, relax, watch TV, watch my cats looking at me thinking, not good enough, you need to do better, and then probably do a night shift and finishing around about midnight and going to bed.
Yes, but I know you're really good actually filling the day with things that you enjoy and things that you want to do. So, you make time for doing all the broadcasting activities, and I know it's been really, meaningful and important for you this year to help businesses through all this sort of, the changing COVID scene and so on. So, you can see that you're actually in your element. You love what you do, and you've got people around you who are supporting you, doing things they love doing, but maybe things that you don't love so much, which is important. And I think that's it's important. People then, when we've done our, what is the perfect day, typically, within reason, what would a typical day look like, and then look at what you're currently doing and how you're spending your time, and say, well, where can I improve? How can I swap things over so that over time I can get from where I am now to doing the things that I want to be doing, and also the things that make the biggest difference to the business, because it's so easy just to be busy being busy. So that's one really good thing to do, is because, we are important to our businesses as well. We're assets, and our passion has got to be kept alive for what we're doing, and we need to invest it in the right place.
It's a strange question, this perhaps, Jo, but we like to ask each other strange questions. How honest do you think people are actually when they do that exercise? So, I think it's a great idea that you look at your perfect day, you look at what you do, and then you've got to map it and find out what's going on. But do you find people are actually that generally honest and objective when they do that exercise?
I think it's about, I'm not sure I'm not sure everybody has thought about what are the activities that give the best return? What are the activities which take me forward and that are really worth spending time on, that are important, so that's an important piece of reflection to do, in terms of what are those activities. And I've mentioned this very briefly before in one of the shows, but I've started to use an app called Toggl. I have no affiliative relationship, no commission, nothing, but Toggl, Toggl. And I track everything that I'm doing, even my wee breaks. Sorry, was that too much? That was TMI.
That was a bit too much, but not very much.
So tracking all of that, and then when you go back and objectively look at how you spent your day, your week, and say, you can then see quantitatively how you can improve what you're doing, how much time you're spending on perhaps some of those admin tasks that your VA or your an employee that you're working with could pick up for you. And that's just using that data. It's really quick, free and easy to do.
I think on all these things running through it, though, it's interesting you say that, because whatever tool you do, whether it's Toggl, Toggl people, if you're listening, by the way, we've just given you a plug there, or Jo has, so, that's a good shout out, is you've got to really understand and objectively analyse the situation, I think, before you come to a meaningful decision. So instinct and gut feeling is useful, but overlay that with some actual real proper analysis of the current situation.
Yeah, and there's an effect that we have where you know, we're humans, and me included, because I'm also human. Think about, you know, we understate how many calories we've eaten. We think we overstate how much exercise and how much exertion we've put in. We over-egg how many hours we're working, and a lot of that is, you know, the mental story we're telling ourselves. And actually, when you look at it on paper, it's just really good. So that's activity number one.
I like it.
The other activity is super simple, and it's to say 1 year from now. So if I'm sitting here, we're standing, but if we're standing here on, is it the 15th today of December?
Yeah, 15th of December.
Yeah, all day. So on the 15th of December 2020, where do we want to be 15th of December 2021? Where do we actually want to be located? What do we want to be doing? And what do we want to have achieved by that time? And it's to sort of, you know, fast forward yourself, do a bit of time travel and move forward and see where you want to be, and make that as clear as possible. So think about money, you know, finance, think about relationships, think about the business, the customers you're working with, how much time you're spending at work, all of those things, sort of, you know, the wheel of life and its different compartments and components, and think about what that looks like.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% there. I mean, it's that having a conversation with yourself in 12 months' time, you know, having a drink, looking back and say, yeah, I've managed to achieve this. This is what I set out to do. I've managed to do this. I didn't quite get there, but don't cheat. You know, make a note of now where you want to take your business in 12 months now, and that's the review. That's what you're looking for. Where are you wanting to be? We've talked about goals as well, but I love that time machine idea. I'll fast forward, have a conversation with yourself and think, yes, I managed to do this. No, I didn't manage to do that. And that's a great start point. Or secondary point.
Sorry, Mahmood. I didn't mean to put it.
No, you got crack on.
Write it down as well. I've got a little book where a while ago I wrote down, I've just started on Instagram, and I'd got 35 followers. Right, and I wrote down, and I know I rant on about don't measure how many followers you've got. It's a false metric for, you know, in many cases. But I wrote down I'd really like to get 300 followers, and that I was going to target myself and get 300 by whatever date it was, you know, and these were the things I was going to do, and I did them, and I achieved it, and, you know, surpassed it a bit, and have gone sort of. I'm aiming for 2,000 by Christmas, and I'm about 15 people away. So if you're not following me on Instagram, it's at Idea Time Studio, and you'll help that Christmas goal come true. But it's really interesting to see, you know, and where we've come from and what we were thinking back then. And then it sort of galvanizes us to move forward and think about what we can possibly achieve in the future. So that's a really nice thing to do, I reckon.
And did that make you feel good? I bet that milestone made you feel good. I bet, you know, setting the metric, getting that target, we all love it, don't we? About how well we're doing, get a marker in the sand, achieve it. And it's a really good, positive bit of a legal adrenaline that rushes through the veins.
And even if I hadn't, I'd have thought, okay, so now I know that these strategies that I said I was going to use aren't working. So what else do I need to do? What things can I drop, and what things do I need to introduce? So it sort of enables that reflective activity. So at least you get there, rather than blindly keep doing what you're doing. And if it's not working, still expecting different results, because that isn't going to happen.
You know, Instagram example there.
Question for you. Yeah, okay. Question for you. Right.
Okay,
so let's say, I mean, I don't think it's a Tuesday. It'll probably be Tuesday the 14th or Wednesday the 15th of December. I don't know how that works, but Wednesday the 15th of December or Tuesday, 2021. What do you want to be going on for you?
Right, I would probably say I'd probably look at this 3 or 4-fold. One is obviously a financial monetary target, but that is, I'm not chasing that target. I know it sounds weird. That's going to come as a result of doing various things. So probably be introducing 2 or 3 additional product revenue streams in the business. Probably a bit of time. So as much to my wife's horror, I actually want to take some more time away from the office and spend some more time at home with her. On paper, she says that she wants that as well, but I think there might be a little suspicion that she wants me to carry on working lots of hours there. And hopefully the world gets back to some degree of sanity, and I go back and doing a bit more travel. And on a genuine thing, this time next year, I want us to be able to take the Business Growth Club onto its next evolution, its next chapter.
Yeah, same here. Same here. We've got big plans, haven't we, for next year? So
absolutely.
Looking forward to it. And for anyone watching who hasn't seen Mahmood's wife Serena in action, Serena does great videos with Mahmood. They dance, don't you? You have a bit of a dance in your videos.
I turn up, she dances.
I'm sure I've seen you move in a rhythmic fashion to some music. So some other things. Ask yourself these questions. So I'm just going to check out these questions to make sure I get them all. So think about, what are my values? What drives me? What do I ultimately want to achieve? Why do I want to achieve that? And what would my best friend and or partner say my goals are? So they're really interesting questions. The last one, what would my best friend or partner say my goals are, is a really good reality truth check. And it might hurt, even if they say your goals are very good, and really exciting, positive, contributory things. But it's a truth check, because they see you and what you talk about and how you spend your time and where you put your energy. And they will interpret what your goals are from what they see and experience. And if you're not living, and spending your time putting that effort and that energy into your goals, then it won't be showing up for them. So that's a good one.
I mean, a word of caution I would probably say is in that you've got to be like anything else. If you ever ask somebody outside of yourself for an opinion and feedback, you've got to be prepared to actually accept what they're saying, whether you agree with it or not. And I think as human beings, if we're not attuned to taking constructive feedback, then we're not really going to be evolving as individuals or as business owners. And number two, just remember, nobody sees the business through the same way that you see your business there as well. So there might be a divergence. If there is a divergence rapidly, that might mean there's a communication issue. You're not articulating it very well. But yeah, I think it's a great exercise. It doesn't mean that person has to be, if they're connected with you, if they're involved with you. If you haven't got a partner to ask, then, maybe ask a work colleague, ask a business partner.
Yeah, so said best friend or partner, and that partner could be a business partner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think if I asked you, and I'm doing this hypothetically, so I won't put you on the spot unless you want to be put on the spot, but you as my business partner for the Business Growth Club, you know what my overall goals are outside the Business Growth Club as well. I would put money on that.
Yeah, I've got a very spoken.
Yeah, and I think, and so because we talk about it, we say what, and we do things, we see each other doing the things that are going to take us from here to there. And it's just about disrupting our thinking as well, because we can go on, with this bubble around us about what we think about what we're doing and how we're interpreting our own actions and thoughts. And it's good to get a bit of disruption from outside just to make us think. Don't have to agree. So that's all right.
Sorry, just cutting across there, Joe. In the stories that you're telling, I think the whole thing when we discussed about doing this broadcast, we wanted it to be practical, something people connect with. And in terms of for ourselves, when we actually first met, before we even launched the Business Growth Club together, we're going through exactly the same business journey that we're talking about to everybody out there, that we talked about to the delegates on the first Business Growth Club there. And for me, it was really interesting because I've learned an incredible amount teaming up with somebody like yourself, going through the Business Growth Club. All these things we're telling people about, mission, the why, and all the rest of it. There are things that we both came into this thinking, this is how it's going to work. And there were some ideas that were put forward by me that actually, in hindsight, were gladly shot down in flames. Nicely, likewise here. But we've actually come onto a path where we don't always agree 100% with each other, but we take it, we think about it, think what's good for the business, and we shape it going forward.
Absolutely. And I've likewise, I've learned an incredible amount from you as well. And there've been times where my suggestions haven't been, the best ones or the right thing to do, and you've challenged those. And that's how it works, isn't it? It's a really important business skill to be able to challenge others that you work with and be challenged back, and to challenge in the right way that builds people up. And to be challenged, be happy to be challenged, as long as the intention is positive, then it doesn't mean you have to agree, but you just see it as I see it as data, as information, you know, and I can take that information. Yeah, I can take that information on board, or I can put the information to one side and leave it there. But I will, you know, it's important not to be defensive or easier said than done, you know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, we get very emotionally attached, don't we, to our businesses, which can sometimes be a very good thing, but it can also be a very toxic thing as well.
Yeah. And I think that's what, you know, listening to all the guests we've had on this year on the show who've been part of the Business Growth Club in 2020, they've all said how amazing it's been, not just to have the support from the both of us, you know, two brains, sort of professional brains helping them with the business, but like massively brilliant community of people who've also helped each other and supported each other within the club itself. So that's been great. Now, the GROW model, we've promised people the GROW model.
Well, we talked about some of it already in terms of the G.
Yeah, so GROW stands for goal. I had to look down then. How bad is that? The GROW, just to be sure, the GROW does stand for goal. So the GROW model is attributed to John Whitmore, although he did develop it with others. And then, you know, like One Direction, they did the work together and then they all went and became solo artists. But it's quite a famous coaching model. And so goal is the G, reality is the R. So where are you now? So the goal is where do you want to get to? The reality is this is where we are right now. The O is for options. So what different ways could you get from here to there, from the reality to the growth? And then the W is will. So what will you do? What are you going to do? So the will is the W. I always also think that will is about willingness and mindset as well. So that's my own little take on it. But so goal, reality, options, will into action. That was like YMCA, wasn't it? I'm practicing.
Well, I probably my movements won't be in the same way as you, but that intent, which I read something the other day, it was talking about intention outbeats motivation. So in other words, when people say, I'm going to have a better work-life balance, I'm going to be doing that, that's a great as a statement of intent, but it's pretty useless in its own right. So therefore what you do, you talk in terms of, I will, I don't know, finish work by 6 o'clock on a Friday. I will do something within that. So that whole idea of having a statement of intent is great as a start point, but you need to make it quantifiable. You need to give it some idea about when you're going to do it. You need to give some idea how you're going to do it. And you need to think about those obstacles, of which you could be one that gets in the way of you achieving it.
Even more powerful, you're absolutely right, and even more powerful is to turn the intention into part of your personal identity. So you could say, I will eat my vegetables, right? So, you know, and as an intention that you're going to eat more vegetables. I think you could work that out. But I eat vegetables is about identity. So the key thing that we need to do is to take our intention and build it into identity. So I will work smarter is I work smart, you know, and then it becomes something that we do. It helps us behaviorally in terms of that integration. And it's interesting because you were talking about intention. And the behavioural science around intention, there's something called the theory of planned behaviour, right? Sorry to get all nerdy.
Oh, it's interesting.
Geek out for a minute if we can. The theory of planned behaviour. It's one of the most researched elements of behavioural science over the last decades, since the 90s, and it's used in health, business, education, social situations. We need to do in order to achieve something and to actually take an action. We need to have three things. Firstly, is the sense that we actually can do it, that we can achieve it, that we've got the confidence that even if we don't know that how we're going to get there, that we'll work it out and we'll make it happen. Secondly, that it's got to be acceptable to the social group who are important to us. You know, so some people won't care what they think and other people it will matter very much. and that's contextual. So that's the other thing. And the third thing is we've got to believe that putting the effort in will be worth it. There'll be a worthwhile outcome. There'll be a payoff. So if we can tick 3 boxes, which is, I believe I can get there, I genuinely believe it. Secondly, that the people who matter to me in this situation will be okay about it as a minimum, supportive about it, for it even more preferable. And thirdly, and it's going to be some work, but it's going to be worth it when I get there. If we can tick those 3 boxes strongly, then we've got every possibility of success, the best chance of success.
Was that cliched expression about overnight successes tend to be several years in the making of blood, sweat, and tears?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've been reading about Bowie. As you know, I'm a Bowie fan.
I didn't actually, but
you didn't know I was a Bowie fan?
I half guessed it. I knew you had very good music taste anyway.
Yeah, I do. Hence the new music for our show, which we've picked. Yeah. Hope everybody's liking the new music for our show. Yeah, so I just really admire the creativity and the deliberate going out there and doing something different, underpinned by an amazing talent and uniqueness. I think it's fantastic. So, but there were times where he felt like giving up because it just wasn't, it wasn't paying off for him. But he had the 3 things that actually, yes, I can do this and I deserve it. Secondly, he was really clear on the people that he was trying to reach and didn't care about the people that he wasn't trying to reach in terms of what their thoughts were, their opinions. And he knew that when he made it, it was going to be worth it.
Which is probably something that underpins my show, because I know when he burst on the scene with his Ziggy Stardust, that for most public commentators, that was really, really quite unusual. It's difficult to think in terms of something groundbreaking in music like that, but that was literally so unique in terms of dress style, in terms of music style, and all the rest of it. But the audience, as you said, he was trying to engage with, lapped it up, loved him. I think that's something that really underpins, I think, a lot of people in the entertainment industry, a lot of people, artists, a lot of people who are in that sort of thing, because it's quite well known that in the early stages, you're not in it for the money because you won't get paid a lot. You do a lot of gigs, you do a lot of performances, you learn your craft, and then eventually, as you stick to it and you apply yourself, blah, 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 you can actually get some degree of financial and other success.
Yeah, it's interesting because he was asked in an interview what he would do if he wasn't a rock star, and he said, well, I have to be a rock star because life would be too boring otherwise. I can't imagine myself doing anything else, which I think is a really glorious thing to say. Most people, would give you an alternative. But I think, bringing this back to business and goal setting, this is about, we've got to believe in ourselves to go for these things. And I'm really proud of everybody in the Business Growth Club who has put themselves out there in 2020 in really challenging times. They've asked for some help and support and encouragement and critique and all of that, constructive critique. And they've achieved so much despite everything that's been going on in the world. And, so actually reaching out for some help is a form of strength, I think, because it means that we can get there, we can achieve our goals faster and better.
Okay. And I think the reality is as well, Joe, with that, I mean, in that group, you had lots of people there who were quite willing and receptive to the idea of taking feedback. They put themselves out there. They put themselves on the line by saying, here's my pitch idea, for example. This is what I think about that. And there's that very real risk when you expose yourself in that respect, that some people aren't always going to like it. But it's taking that and actually lapping up that feedback and saying, oh, I never thought of it this way. That's great. Some people loved it. It wasn't just saying, oh, we love it all. There was some real good positive critiques coming in there. And I think there's this idea that if you don't have self-belief, I don't mean arrogance, if you don't have self-belief and confidence in what you're doing, how on earth can you expect your customers to have any confidence in what you're doing? And it comes across. You can't hide that from your customer base there. So again, it's that balance between not being over cocky and confidence. Is it based on something? I'm trying to think of it was Muhammad Ali expression about it's not bragging if you can do it. Something along those lines.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, and with any strength overplayed or used at the wrong time in the wrong way becomes a weakness. So, but it's about, I think it's having that inner confidence, and also the confidence to communicate and stand out and be different, because there is so much noise, so much competition. it is very, very rare that anybody in business, any of us included, come up with something that nobody anywhere else has ever come up with before. There's nothing truly original in many businesses, but it's about how we do it that's different, and really being clear on what it is that differentiates us, and shouting about that in a good way and celebrating that. I think so many people just want to fit in, and be like all the other marketing coaches or all the other, I don't know, personal trainers or whatever it is, instead of, if Bowie did personal training, can you imagine what that would be like? Yeah.
I think he'd need a bigger auditorium, wouldn't he?
He would need, yeah, he would. So it'd probably make Joe Wicks look quite tame, although, Joe Wicks does a fantastic job and he's been doing amazing work. So yeah, it's being different, but being different for a reason, and with a strategy in mind, Yeah,
I think that idea that, whatever you're going to do in your life, have a plan that underpins it. Don't, I think, I'm trying to think who we did it now, actually, this idea that, I think it's Eisenhower who said it. I referred to a quote earlier on this week. Is that plans are useless, planning is essential.
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing about that, has got to be geared into planning. So everybody who's listening in, by the way, you can probably figure out that me and Joe are big fans of planning.
We are, but we change plans. We're agile. Yeah. So at least you've got something to change. If not, you're making everything up on the spot as you go. You're making it up, and, winging it has got its place. There's a time and a place to wing it. But actually, we know for sure, and there's plenty of research to support this, that we get there faster, better, with greater quality if we decide where we want to be, and we make a plan to get there, and we just flex those plans as we go. And it's never about changing the vision. It's just about changing the routes that you take to get from here to there if things around you change.
I think you're part of the world which I haven't visited for a long time. So when things are a little bit better, if I travelled up to Yorkshire, I'm not going to literally just say, right, let me just blindfold and drive up the part of the motorway and see if I get there. I'm going to plan it. I'm going to decide where to stop, how to get there. And that's going to make the journey more efficient, timely, enjoyable, but the destination still stays the same. So those things we do in our personal lives, just put them into your business.
In fact, you remind me of a conversation I had. I'm not going to say who it was, but the person, if they are listening, will know exactly who they are. I'm saying this in fun, and she knows that I'm saying it. We talked about, she was saying, I want to do a plan, but there's so much going on right now and everything's changing. There's a bit of me saying, what's the point? And I said, well, would you drive from here to Scarborough, not knowing, not having a route in mind? And she said, well, no, at least I'd have a sat nav or something to guide me the way. And I said, and what happens if you set off on that route and the road was closed because, the cows had got out of the field, or there'd been an accident or whatever, and she said, well, I'd divert and I'd go round. Would you, you'd probably still head for Scarborough, wouldn't you? Or maybe somewhere nearby. And she said, yes. So it's, it is about changing things up, but still making those daily steps. And that's another thing. When you're doing your plan for next year and you're thinking about your goals, is look at your diary and say, does how I'm spending my time match what I say I want to achieve? And if the answer is no, then, really have a good look at the diary and schedule in short bursts of time done frequently, because that will gain more momentum than thinking, oh, I need to block out a full week or 2 weeks to do this. Really, is that going to happen? Possibly, probably not. So, but we can all find, an hour 2 or 3 times a week that we dedicate to doing that.
It's that sort of Chinese parable, isn't it, about little steps. It's little footprints, tiny little steps are much better for you overall because they're more manageable as opposed to, so it's a bit like social media activity sometimes, isn't it, Joe, where some people say, right, I've been doing any social media for a couple of weeks, I'm just going to burst, I'm just going to chuck everything I know out there, a couple of hours burst, and then like a star, it fades, it goes out, nobody hears from you. Do little often as opposed to just big bursts here and now. They're much more manageable, they're much more achievable, and you can actually see immediate success as well.
Yeah, and they compound. that there's a compound effect of doing a bit today and a bit more tomorrow and a bit more the day after that. It will compound because you've got that frequency. It has a multiplier effect. I'm sure I'm getting all the maths wrong here, by the way.
No, I think the maths is pretty
you
sound.
get the gist. Yeah.
I get the gist. And also, I think it's that reinforcement, because I find a lot of people still, after several years in business, when they do something, there might be, I know some people call it imposter syndrome, some people call it a confidence issue. But if you do those little things, you do those, I've done this today, it actually reinforces that idea that you can do it. It reinforces the idea that it's achievable and I can actually execute this plan. And it's amazing at the end of a week what you've actually managed to achieve by little steps, as opposed to saying, right, I'm going to put half a day away, because it just doesn't happen.
No, it's definitely the case, and yeah, I know you've done teaching as well, and working with master's students on assignments and so on, that can seem quite daunting. I've always said to all the hundreds of them that I've taught over the years, all of them wonderful, don't sit down and just tackle your assignment in one go. You need to break it down, do a bit at a time, create a plan, and then go back and once you've done your first draft, and make sure it all hangs together and review it. But first of all, just do a piece at a time and just do it in manageable chunks.
It's just made me think of a story before we start wrapping up the show. You'll recognise this from a teaching perspective, that when I've prepared students, say for exams, professional exams or academic exams, they always have these grandiose ideas. They can do 2 or 3 hours worth of revision in one go, and it never happens. So I always recommend just do it in piecemeal, because the first week that you sit down is all displacement activity. You'll sit up and think, right, I need a coffee, I need to clean the house, I need to watch this piece of TV, I need to speak to somebody I don't even like. I'll do anything except sit down and study. But if you set yourself a 10-minute, 15-minute cycle where you do a little bit of work in that time, whether it's a question, do it, then go off and relax. You can build it up, and you can build up your energy and your muscles accordingly.
And that's what we do in Business Growth Club. So every week there are some little activities, well, I say little, but they're short and important activities for people to think about every week about their business. And those activities over the course of the Business Growth Club program build, don't they? So weeks 1 and 2, the foundations, but you're starting to get some good outputs and things you can put into practice. And then it just grows and grows from there in terms of the benefits that form of doing a bit of work, just a bit of work, and showing up every week, maybe an hour a week in total. It really does make a difference.
I'm talking 6 weeks' time, the doors are opened.
Yes, it's exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely. So folks, we've mentioned Business Growth Club. If you haven't already, drop a comment in the links box. People are signing up here, so you'll at least get a weekly tip delivered into your inbox about some growth tips here. As I said, the doors officially open, I think, around about the 25th of January 2021. Think about 20, and remember, we've got something big happening around the corner. So Brexit is going to happen. We know most of what's going to happen, and your business has got to adapt for it. So that's just one example of a change that you need to actually start preparing for and planning for.
Yeah, so come and join us. We'd love to have you. We've got limited spaces, so get on the waiting list and you'll be the first to hear. Plus, we've got a business growth roadmap for you if you want to sign up and hear more, and you'll get regular weekly notes from us. A little note from me and Mahmood suggesting just one thing you can do that week to take yourself forward and grow and continue to be successful. So I've enjoyed chatting tonight. It's been really good.
It's been really good, actually, and we've got a show next week, and I believe we've got a show on the 28th. Should we give people a little bit of an insight to next week's show?
Yeah, go on then.
Oh, I knew you were going to put me on the spot here. Everyone, it will be a little bit of a surprise because we haven't quite decided. We have decided, Joe. What? Let me do that bit of reverse psychology and thinking. Let me try and remember what was next week.
You're doing some of Sarah's Jedi mind tricks from last week, aren't you?
Yeah, we need Sarah to come in and tell us that Jedi mind trick. It's going to be our business growth. We're going to keep that a little surprise to you. We may or may not have a guest for you. We will find out later on this week. But whatever happens, folks, it's going to be a fantastic show next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Not only do you get to hear some wonderful music, not only do you get to hear the wonderful Joe and me talk about business growth, but we are always trying to keep things on topic, So I'm looking forward, as Joe is, I'm sure, to your company next week.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, and put your comments in the chat, and we'll get back to you on all of them. So see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye for now, and I'm going to play out with our wonderful little music as well.